show him off when the national convention comes to Houston. So we look forward.
No pressure. No pressure.
Just had to drop that. I want to, in this prayer breakfast, as we are saluting Black History, simply share with you words of encouragement that I choose to entitle, "You are the chosen ones and flowers don't pick themselves." You are the chosen ones and flowers don't pick themselves. That's the subject I'd like to use to speak from during these few moments. You are the chosen ones and flowers don't pick themselves. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I hope you don't mind if I just shout out the Golden State Warriors, who have won 3 out of the last 4 NBA titles. The Golden State Warriors are now the defending champions, but all of us who are Warrior fans recognize that when the Warriors won the NBA title last June, something happened in Game 1 that literally reset the trajectory for what eventuated in the Warriors becoming NBA champions. It was in Game 1 that something happened that literally reset what became the NBA championship series. In Game 1, the fourth quarter is winding down and it's less than 4 seconds to play, and J.R. Smith rebounds the ball for the Cleveland Cavaliers. The game is tied, but J.R. Smith, my sisters and brothers, has forgotten evidently what time it is, and he does not know the score of the game. Instead of passing the ball to LeBron James, instead of getting the ball to someone open, instead of shooting the ball himself, J.R. Smith dribbles the ball until the time runs out on the clock. As a consequence, the air goes out of the room for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and history tells us that as a consequence, in overtime, the Warriors won the game, went on to sweep the series. Why? Because one J.R. Smith had the ball, but he did not know what time it was. J.R. Smith had the ball, but he did not know what to do with it. I want to suggest to the DNC, we've got the ball right now. The question is, do we know what time it is? The question is, do we know what to do with the ball? I'm sure you already know what time it is. We know what time it is because Dr. Cornel West has put it succinctly and sagaciously when he said upon the election of 46-1 that our country has entered into a season where we are experiencing a spiritual eclipse of decency, honesty, and integrity. And I add to that, as a consequence of that eclipse, we are in the chaotic shadows of emboldened racism, resurgent white supremacy, not to mention predatory patriarchy, unvarnished greed, and military madness. We know what time it is, and we have the ball. We know what time it is because we've we've witnessed the resurgence of white supremacy, even having an office in the White House. We know what time it is because we've seen 46-1 try to equivocate right there in Charlottesville between white supremacy and peaceful protesters. We recognize what time it is because we have someone in office now who has no problem whatsoever serving as the lying king. He will make up whatever he wants to make up whenever he wants to make it up in order to pass his political agenda and feed his rabid base. We know what time it is. The question is, knowing what time it is and having the ball, and surely you're questioning me right now saying, how do I believe we have the ball? We have the ball because the midterm election showed us that we have the ball. We have the ball because the midterm elections revealed to us that the nation is awakening out of its slumber, and it's time for us to step up and usher this nation into a new era of progress and prosperity and liberty and justice for all. So we know what time it is and we have the ball. The question is, in this prayer breakfast, is there a message for us? I love it. The DNC is having a prayer breakfast. Does it not blow your mind that it's that other party that is often accused accused of being so religious. But of course, we know their religious right is dead wrong. And so it's good that the DNC recognizes the need for faith and morality to inform our public policy. After all, we've got the ball and we know what time it is. And with that being the case, I could not wait to look at a particular text that many of us are familiar with. It's found in the Hebrew scriptures. It's the story of Queen Esther. Now, by way of context, you recognize that Esther, to use the language of the womanist scholar Dr. Renita Weems, has been able to climb piggyback on the back of one Vashti. Vashti had sacrificed because she had integrity, and her integrity precluded her from doing anything that was beneath her dignity. And so as a consequence, here is Esther riding piggyback into new possibilities because of the sacrifice of Vashti. Here we are in this breakfast honoring Black history. And when we honor Black history, we must be mindful of the fact that we are riding piggyback on the shoulders of those who have gone before us, who in a real sense have set the stage for us to be where we are right now. There's a wonderful passage in Hebrews chapter 11 that says repeatedly, by faith. I'll simply say by faith. That's how Black people have done what they have done in this nation. We've done it by faith. By faith, we survived the hell and horrors of the miserable Middle Passage. By faith, we were somehow able to rescue a white Jesus that was created in order to perpetuate an agenda of white supremacy from the white church and place Jesus back in the liberating confines of the scriptures. By faith, we were able to give birth to a Black church that was born as a protest prophetic institution that created an alternative beloved community. We were born by faith. Watch this, giving guidance on the Underground Railroad. By faith, we stand on the shoulders of sages like Sojourner and brilliant political scholars like Barbara Jordan. By faith, we find ourselves here standing on the shoulders of Frederick Douglass, the silver-tongued orator of the abolitionist movement. By faith, we are standing on the shoulders of Fannie Lou Hamer, who went to Atlantic City and said, listen, we all tired. We didn't come here just for 2 seats. All of us deserve a seat. We are here by faith. It's a faith that the dark past has taught us. And so Esther, she climbs on the shoulders of one Vashti. And when she does that, check her out now. She is the queen, this Palestinian Jew of Persia. You're missing your shout right there. The shout is, here is a sister from the hood. She's a marginalized sister, and yet she is balling and shot calling as the queen of Persia. Does it not blow your mind that oftentimes it's those from the streets who have been marginalized that God raises up to lead into a new era? I guess y'all missed it. I read this and it blew my mind. I believe the Democratic Convention in 2000 was held in LA, and there was this skinny kid from Chicago who arrived there, and he didn't even have a credit card that would help him to rent a car there in LA. But y'all know what happened. He got into the Democratic Convention, and then 4 years later he gave a speech that rocked the nation, and then 4 years after that he was the president of the United States of America. Why? Because God has a way of starting from the bottom to raise people to the top. Is that not what the Democratic Party represents? The Democratic Party represents those who are marginalized, those who are left behind, but then get upgraded into new possibilities and open the door for the the nation to become what it ought to become. So here is my girl Esther. Esther is running things. She is the queen there in Persia. But hold on, she gets a little complacent, and there is a hater by the name of Haman. Now Haman was quite a hater. He was a lion hater at that. Haman was real insecure, spent a lot of time tweeting at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he tweeted such hate because he wanted to build this wall that was rooted in racism, a wall that was downright immoral and wrong. That's what Haman wanted to do. He was practicing genocide. He was determined to wipe out the Jews. That's what Haman was going to do. But there was one Mordecai, and Mordecai said, I'm going to protest in the streets. I like that. You have Mordecai protesting in the streets, and you have Queen Esther in the palace suite. I'm going to do that one more time because you have to have those on the ground in the streets who are speaking truth to power to those who are in the suites. Y'all didn't get that. I'll keep it moving. And so that's what Mordecai does. Mordecai is protesting in the streets and says to Esther, yo, Esther, you better handle up your business right there in the suite, because the bottom line is, if Haman has his way, if his political agenda continues to go forward, it's going to be bad, not just on us, but on the nation. It's going to be bad on you as well. So you've got to step up and use your position for those who don't have a position. And we recognize what happened. Esther said, I got this. You fast, I'm going to fast, and I'm going in to see the king. If I perish, I perish. I love it because what Mordecai was saying to Esther is, you are the chosen one, and flowers don't pick themselves. Now, I might as well be honest. I love my subject, but it's not original with me. I got my subject from Drake. Drake has a luminous line in one of his latest albums, and here's what it says. It's gonna shout you, I'm the chosen one, and flowers don't pick themselves. Do you get the metaphor? Drake is saying, I'm the chosen one, but then he uses the metaphor of flowers. We just had Valentine's Day. I hope you got some. And when Valentine's Day came, flowers are everywhere. And I've discovered, according to Drake, that flowers don't pick themselves. Now, flowers, of course, have a testimony. I gave my wife some roses. The roses spoke to me and said, yo, Freddie, when you think about my testimony, understand, as beautifully as I have blossomed, recognize I had to go through dirt in order to blossom. And I'm simply trying to say it's been a dirty time these last 2 years in America, but isn't it good to know that this dirt is not going to bury us? It simply planted us, and we're getting ready to blossom in 2020 in a way that will take this nation where it needs to go. Why? Because we are the chosen ones, and flowers don't pick themselves. Preach, Freddy Haynes. I'm about to do that. Well, what lessons do we learn from Mordecai and Esther that can propel us forward as we learn during this Black History celebration? I believe lesson number one that all of us should learn is simply remain true to who you are. I like that, Democrats. Please remain true to who you are. This is no time for us to back down from our democratic values for speaking up for those who have no voice. This is no time for us to back down from the principles that were lifted up during the campaigns in 84 and 88 of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr. It was that campaign that set the stage for us to experience the political brilliance of Ron Brown. That campaign opened up the door for the political powerhouse known as Virgie Rollins. That campaign opened up the door all across the country for others to have opportunities to stand and allow allow their voices to be heard. But Jesse Jackson reminded us that a nation is judged not by how you treat those who are up and in, but how you treat those who are down and out. And just in case you think that's not biblical and moral, don't forget what Jesus said. When the judgment comes, he's going to separate, here it is, the nations, the sheep from the goats, and he's going to judge the nations by how they treat the least of these. What will Jesus say? I'm a Freddy Haynes remix it for you. Jesus may say to America, I was hungry, but you cut foods, you cut aid to dependent children. I was thirsty, and you contaminated water in Flint, Michigan. I was a foreigner, stranger, and you erected a wall. And America is going to say, Jesus, when did we do this? He's going to say, inasmuch as you did it to the least of these, my sisters and brothers, you have also done it unto me. America is judged. The Democratic Party is always known by how we treat the least of these. We've got to be true to who we are. We've got to maintain our identity. And when we do that, we no longer are always playing defense, but we get on the offense and develop an agenda that's not always responding to what the other party does, but we're creating an agenda rooted in our vision of what the nation ought to really be. Y'all not get this. I see if I can help you. Here it is. Listen, I don't know about y'all, but last year I was so hyped, saw it about 20 times, the movie Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. I saw Black Panther repeatedly, and here's what blew my mind. This is what got me. As a matter of fact, I watched it on the plane the other day coming up here to DC. This is going to shout you. If you didn't see it, I'll break it down. T'Challa is the son of T'Chaka. T'Chaka was king of Wakanda, and T'Challa is his son. T'Chaka got killed. T'Challa now is about to come to the throne as the new king of Wakanda, but he has to, watch this, go through a challenge, because you cannot get the throne unless you go through a challenge. I'm going to do that one more time. You cannot get to a throne unless you overcome a challenge. Well, there appears to be no challengers, and then we hear from the mountains M'Baku coming down. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Here comes M'Baku. M'Baku is going to challenge T'Challa, and here's what happened. M'Baku is whooping up on T'Challa, and it looks like he's not going to win. But then here's what happened. T'Challa is in a bear hug. He's bleeding, and he sees through his blurred vision of his tears his regal mother, played by the amazing Angela Bassett, and she says these words to him, show him who you are. And y'all know that's when everything changed, because he says, I am T'Challa, son of T'Chaka. And the victory came after mama said, show him who you are. Well, I'm going to play Angela Bassett and say to the DNC, we got 2020 coming, and America needs to know one thing, DNC, show them who you are. You are a party of the people and for the people. Show them who you are. You believe in speaking up for the least of these. Show them who you are. Show them who you are. Be true. Be true to who you are. Be true to our democratic values. But then secondly, when you're true to your democratic values, I love this, I'm almost done. The text also says recognize the ethics of power, the morality of power, because that is what my man Mordecai says to my girl Esther. He says, yo, Es, here you are in that position of power, but power is not to be used for yourself. It's not to be used in order to fund, to send resources to your golf estates and your hotels, but power is to be used for those who don't have any power. Y'all missed that. I'll do it one more time. Don't you use your power in order to make sure you have contracts that go to your hotel estates and your resorts and your golf clubs, but you use your power instead for those who don't have any power. I'm not coming through. I'll make this real plain. Y'all know this is a prayer breakfast, so you don't mind if I refer to Jesus right quick. Jesus shows us, watch this, the ethics of power, or the moralization of power. In Matthew chapter 4, this is going to shout you. It's Matthew chapter 4. Jesus is in the wilderness with the devil, and he's fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. Here comes the devil. The devil says, yo, G, I know you're hungry, so if you are the Son of God, turn these stones into hot water cornbread. And Jesus said, it is Black History Month. Turn these stones into hot water cornbread. Jesus said, no, I ain't going out like that. I know who I am. It is written, man shall not live by bread alone. I'm not going to define who I am by my ability to satisfy selfishly my own appetite. And then fast forward to chapter 14. I'm about to shout you right here. He's in the wilderness again, but this time there's a multitude of 5,000 men, not to mention the women and their kids. And the Bible says, Jesus says, we've got to feed these people. The disciples says, gee, but we don't have what it takes. All we have is a 2-piece and 5 biscuits. He says, that's all I need. He multiplied by dividing. They had a pop-up banquet in the wilderness. Note this, he did not use his power to feed himself, but he did use his power to feed those who are hungry. And that's what we are called to do. We are called to remember those who are impoverished. Please, DNC, don't allow the impoverished to be invisible in this next election. Let's pick up the baton of Lyndon Baines Johnson and declare war on poverty. If we're going to celebrate Martin Luther King Jr., let's remember that King died while fighting for those who were poor. If we are going to be who we are, the impoverished cannot be invisible. I gotta quit. I've held y'all too long. But in the final analysis, watch this. Mordecai says, here's what you do. Maintain your connection to the community, and you will fulfill your date with destiny, and all of us will blossom into our possibilities. I like that. He says, here's what you do. Don't forget us. And she says, I got you. You fast, and I'm going to fast, and I'm going to sacrifice my life maybe, because it's against the law for me to go in to see the king. But I'm going to dare take a stand, because everything legal ain't necessarily just. I'm going to do that one more time. A whole lot of stuff is legal, but that does not make it just. Y'all missed your shout. Slavery was legal, but God knows it was not just. The Dred Scott decision was legal, but God knows it was not just. Plessy versus Ferguson was legal, but God knows it was not just. Segregation was legal, but God knows it was not just. 3 strikes and you're out, legal, but definitely not just. And declaring a national emergency at the border is illegal, and God knows it definitely is not just. We know what an emergency is. An emergency is gun violence in our streets. An emergency is public education not educating our children. We know what an emergency is. An emergency is an environment that we are not protecting because of the greed of those in corporate America. We know what an emergency is. Since we know what an emergency is, it's vital we maintain our connection with the community. And as we maintain our connection with community, we'll fulfill our possibility and rewrite the trajectory of this nation. Y'all know the rest of the story. Esther goes in to see the king, and Esther says, yo, king, it's about to go down, but it can't go down the wrong way. I like it. I got to go ahead and remix it for you since y'all missing it. Esther says, listen, I'm the queen, you the king. And in this text, we soon discover that the king, watch this, he's in position, but Esther is the one who has the power. I've discovered that's real deep right there. A lot of folk have position, position, but just because they have position, it doesn't mean they have the power. I'm loving that right there. I'm going to shout you since you're missing your shout cue. The shout cue is somebody may be in position, but that doesn't mean they have the power. I guess I've got to make it plain. Abraham Lincoln, he was in position, but thank God that Frederick Douglass and William Lloyd Garrison and Harriet Tubman, they had the power, and the vacillating president then discovered no nation can survive half slave and half free. You didn't get it. Woodrow Wilson had position and showed the birth of a nation in the White House, but I'm glad that W.E.B. Du Bois and the NAACP, Paul Robeson and Ida Wales had the power. Y'all still did not get it. December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks boards a bus, and when Rosa boarded that bus, the bus driver had position, but I'm glad to let you know Rosa is the one that had the power. Y'all miss your shout. I'll go ahead and come back to that later on, but y'all do recognize that in this country there was in Arkansas the Little Rock Nine, and the governor had position, but the Little Rock Nine, they had the power. Y'all still missing your shout. I'll see if I can help you. There was a sister down in Mississippi by the name of Fannie Lou Hamer. There was a governor of that state. The governor had position, but y'all know Fannie Lou had the power. I'm still not coming through. I'm in the Bible. Pharaoh had position, but Moses had the power. Saul had position. David had the power. Pilate had position, but Jesus had the power. I guess I'm trying to let y'all know Trump has position, but the DNC, you have the power. You have the power. You have the power. You have the power even when it seems you're on the outs. I'm done. Here's how I wrap it. I told you Rosa Parks, December 1st, 1955, in the book, the marvelous book, The Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks. In that book, Rosa Parks boards the bus, notes who the bus driver is. She had had issues with him in the past, but Rosa took her seat anyway. I ain't messing with you. And Rosa took her seat. They came to the next bus stop. The bus fills up. Whites are standing. The bus driver looks at the four in what was called no man's land. And you know what happened? Three got up. Rosa remained seated, tired of being pushed around. And the bus driver told her to get up. She refused. He goes to the payphone. They didn't have cell phones. And he calls the police. The police come, and according to the author of that book, the author says, here's your shout right here. The police gave the bus driver an option. We can arrest her or just put her off the bus. If they had just put her off the bus, nothing would have changed. But the bus driver got arrogant, like the man in the house. And the bus driver arrogantly said, arrest her. And she got arrested into destiny. How do I know? She got arrested into destiny because a few years ago, under the presidency of Barack Obama, I was there. I was invited to Statuary Hall when they unveiled the statue to Rosa Parks. Ceremony was amazing, and this is what made me shout. After the ceremony was over, I go up to the statue, pay homage, salute Mama Rosa Parks. And then I said, but there's something interesting here. There's a statue to Rosa Parks. Where's the bus driver? Where's the police officer who at the time had the power? And y'all, it hit me that just because you may be out right now, it does not mean that history will not validate you and place you in a place of power that blesses the ages. Now that was good, wasn't it? That was real good right there. But as good as I thought that was, a few months later, I preached that in Ohio. And this old school deacon came up to me afterwards and blessed me, and I bless you with what he said. He came up to me and said, young preacher, what you just said about Rosa Parks, that was good. But that really wasn't the shout point. I said, but the people shouted. He said, yeah, they shouted, but they don't know the shout point. I said, what's the shout point? He said, the shout point is I was there. I stayed off the buses for 381 days. I'm from Montgomery, so you're not talking to someone who read about it. You're talking to someone who lived it. And I said, wow, that's awesome. He said, no, I'm going to tell you what's awesome. He said, do you know that after we won that victory, after the Supreme Court outlawed segregation there in municipal travel, do you know what happened? I said, tell me. He said, we decided, because Rosa had made that sacrifice, that she would be the one who would ride the bus first that was integrated. I said, wow. He said, I'm not done. He said, and we stood out on that cold morning in Montgomery, and the bus came over the hill. And when the bus came over the hill, the bus door opened up, and guess who the driver was? The same driver who had her arrested now had to drive her to her destination. DNC, all I came to say is that man in the White House is going to drive us to victory in 2020, because you the chosen ones, and powers don't pick themselves.
Hey y'all, thank y'all. Thank you guys. I'm so glad you could do this for us. I guess how old are you? You're gonna be in Michigan. Y'all know? He had to come to Michigan to get his wife. Yeah, I just want y'all to know that too. Well, anyway, thank you guys. This has been our breakfast. I know we got our regional meetings coming up, and I'm going to let you guys go, but I hope you enjoyed this morning, our Black History breakfast. I hope I have delivered again for y'all. I thank you so much, and you guys can get to your meetings. Thank you so much.